Does this seem accurate? This would mean that Sirius the Jaeger was my favorite of all of these. I don't know if that's true. ようこそ、カロのリンゴ王国へ。Netflix アニメお好きですか? Well, today we are going to be tier ranking a ton of Netflix original anime series. Whether you've seen one of them, or all of them, or even none of them, we are going to see just how good the Netflix original anime series actually are. And if you're watching anime in order to learn Japanese, then stick around to the end because I've got a great cheat code to help you learn Japanese even better. For now, I want to give you a caveat. I'm not going to be ranking English language animated Netflix originals, so something like Castlevania, where, you know, it was kind of originally made for an English-speaking audience, and then there are Japanese versions of it. And I'm also not talking about anime shows that are maybe on Netflix but aren't produced by Netflix. I'm going to be tier ranking the ones that are Netflix produced, you know, a Netflix original anime series, whether whole or in part. All right, 始めましょう. Let's start off with putting these into just basic categories, and then we'll see how the different anime compare within those categories, because the closer you are to the left, that means the higher you are within that tier rank. First up, we've got Shaman King. Now, I remember this is a manga and even an anime that I used to watch when I was growing up, and then this is the Netflix kind of reboot of it. And I have to say, it was okay. It was okay. I didn't finish it. It's a little slow. It's still fun, you know, like I remember it, but I'm gonna put it in the B tier right now. Just because I didn't get into it a ton like when I was younger. We'll see if it stays there. We might move it down to C tier. Next, Record of Ragnarok. Just so note, I am going to be using the English name for most of these anime, but sometimes you might hear me use the Japanese term or the Japanese title because I am learning Japanese and have been for several years. So Record of Ragnarok. This one's really interesting because it's, you know, it's fight-based. My wife and I really enjoyed this one. I wouldn't say it's like amazing or groundbreaking or anything, but it is pretty fun to see all these different kind of world mythologies put together into, you know, a giant fight competition. And in fact, if that's an A, then I'm definitely going to bump down Shaman King to C tier. Let's see, Sirius the Jaeger. This one was actually really cool because it was almost like a Edo, no, not Edo, maybe like a Meiji era steampunk type thing. I would love another season of it, just because my wife and I enjoyed it so much. I'm actually going to put it in S tier. I'm ranking them more on how much my wife and I enjoyed them, rather than how good I think they are technically, because I'm also a filmmaker. I've got a whole screenwriting and filmmaking channel that you can check out if you want. So this is not from a technical or cinematic standpoint, but more so from an audience kind of enjoyment perspective. But Sirius the Jaeger, very fun, very cool. Okay, Eden Zero. This was one I had heard about and hadn't really seen for a long time, but we finally watched it. It was fun. It was fun. But it still kind of runs into some of those tropes that you see in a lot of anime, where you've got a young, spunky, spiky-haired, you know, kid who's lost his parents and has to try really hard in order to become stronger, and does so through the power of friendship. I mean, how many anime shows did I just explain with that plot, you know, idea? So I'm going to put that here in B tier. But similar to that, but I think executed better, is actually Black Clover. Black Clover. And I definitely liked it better than Ragnarok. But should I put it into S tier? I think I have to put it into S tier because I enjoyed it so much. Just some of the characters and some of the adventures they go on. It's so fun. So fun. Okay. Nanatsu no Taizai. 7 Deadly Sins. This one was so interesting. It does have some slow periods. So eventually my wife, got kind of tired of it, so I finished it myself. But it was fun. I think just because I liked it, I'll put it in A tier. But, and it's also got some movies that they've done kind of in between the different seasons. They'll do like a one-off, film, kind of like with Naruto. And speaking of Naruto, I know what I was missing from this video, and that is full otaku mode. So let's go full otaku and make sure that this tier ranking is legit. Romai Romai. This is one where I didn't really know anything about it, but my wife had read the manga. And we really enjoyed this one. It was very fun. It's kind of a lighthearted, time travel comedy. Yeah, it was just really fun. It's like this crazy idea where this ancient Roman gets thrown forward in time to Japanese onsen's and brings all the technology back to Rome. I might put it in B tier, but definitely above Eden Zero. Let's move Eden Zero down. See, every time I look at Ragnarok now I'm wondering, should I move it down? I'm not sure. Okay, Uncle from Another World. If you like fantasy and you like comedy, then this might be the show for you. Again, it was so little tropish, and it does have a lot of flashbacks, which can get old, but as far as the concept goes, it was a really fun idea. We enjoyed it. I think I'm going to put it above Thermae Romai, just because I liked the fantasy aspect of it, but it was still really good. And I think actually I've got to bump Eden Zero down to C tier. Okay, Little Witch Academia. So imagine like a Japanese type Hogwarts, but it's so European-ish. But the kids are younger, and it's not as serious. And it's got like, teenage drama. Or preteen drama, you could say. More of a kid's show. We didn't finish the whole thing. It was fun. I'm gonna put it here in C tier. Maybe I should put it lower than C tier. Maybe, you know what, I'm gonna put it in D tier. And D tier in this case doesn't mean bad, it just means least enjoyable out of all this list. Yakitori. This one was a pretty out there concept. It's like a futuristic thing where humans have encountered aliens and now have to fight all these robots, except all of the aliens just look like animals from our world, but they're hyper intelligent, and so humans are like the lowest on the intelligent species totem pole. So the humans are like the expendable soldiers. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It's kind of wacky. No, maybe I'll put it here. Maybe I'll put it in C tier. Okay, Romantic Killer. Romantic Killer. This one, again, this fits into some of the common tropes. We've got somebody in a high school and they accidentally develop some kind of magical ability and they have, a magical friend from another world. But it was done in a fun way. It kind of takes the tropes and subverts them a little bit. I'm gonna put that there. Okay, Blue Period. This is, I think, the only kind of serious show that we've watched that wasn't also a genre show in some way. Like, it wasn't sci-fi, fantasy, or horror. It was just straight drama. Maybe some people would call it dramedy, but it was really cool because of how it delved into the world of art and then also trying to visualize how art feels and things like that. I enjoyed it, but I don't know if I would watch it again, just because that's not really our main type of thing that we like to watch. But it was good. Oh, I'm having trouble with this one. Maybe I'll put it at the very top of C tier. Alright, next up, Spriggan. Spriggan. This one was another kind of fight-related, dark fantasy, dark sci-fi type thing. I really enjoyed it, and I hope it gets another season because it also brings in kind of like the historical, pseudo-archaeology, paranormal type, Indiana Jones type thing with old artifacts. So that was really cool, at least for me. So I'm going to move it up to A tier. Move over Ragnarok. I think I'm going to move Ragnarok down. Ragnarok is really easily bingeable, but other than that, it's not super complex. Like, it's just like a lot of fights, which is good. See, this is hard. This is really hard. We'll leave it there for now. We'll leave it there. Okay, let's keep going. All right. I'm going to actually jump ahead and grab Zom 100. Another horror comedy type thing, which has been real fun. I'm going to put it up here with these other comedies. You notice a lot of the comedy stuff I'm putting in like the B tier. I like the ones that are more serious, but some of the ones that are comedic, or have some comedy in them are also good. Like Seven Deadly Sins is a lot of comedy, but some of them are just straight comedy. Okay, Bastard with 2 exclamation points. If there was an F tier on here, I would put it in F tier. But right now I just have to put it behind Little Witch Academia in D tier because this show was just trash. Failure! It was almost like a good concept. You know, it had some fantasy stuff. It had some, you know, Castlevania type vibes. It had some retro, you know, kind of stuff in it, but it just totally went off the rails with the characterization and fan service and that type of stuff, and it was just not enjoyable. We couldn't even make it through the first season. That might only be one season on there, I don't remember. We didn't really like it. We didn't watch too much of it. It wasn't that good. Okay. Gokushofudo, Way of the House Husband. By far the best comedy, the best Netflix anime comedy on here. So you know it automatically makes it to the top of B tier. Because that apparently is where I put all the comedies. I don't know, this one is so good I might have to put it up higher. Dare I say it? S tier, even? We'll leave it at the bottom of S tier and see if it stays there. See if it stays. Alright, Sword Guy. This one, I actually forgot that we had tried to watch this. And then I was making sure that I hadn't missed any of the Netflix anime. I was like, Sword Guy? Oh yeah, that was that one we couldn't get into. This is another one where it had a really cool concept of, you know, a katana, which, you know, steals people's souls and things like that through their blood. Like a really cool Japanese type horror, fantasy, you know, type twist to it. But the characters, we really didn't like the main character, and, you know, I think at some point he turns into some kind of creature or something when he fights, and it's like they took a cool idea and they went totally the opposite way that I would have done it. Just as a filmmaker. And so because of that, and because of us not being able to connect to the characters, we just couldn't really get into it. So we only watched a few episodes of it. Maybe I'll go back and I'll try to watch it again, but unfortunately, with such a cool concept, I have to put it in D tier. Okay, Junji Ito Maniac. This one was interesting because this is actually almost like animated short stories. It's serialized. So each episode is going to be a completely new situation with new characters, sometimes even multiple stories within one episode, where the first half of the episode will be one kind of serial, and then the second half of the episode will be a different serial. And I started to watch this for Halloween, and I'm not all the way through it. It kind of, I would say in terms of its quality, or rather, let's say in terms of enjoyment, it goes up and down depending on the episode and the serial. I think I will finish it, but it's definitely, because every episode is so different, it's hard to really get into a flow of like, yeah, I'm going to watch another one, I want to watch another one. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in D tier. I like it, but I don't love it, if that makes sense. Now that's Pacific Rim Black. Now I know originally I said I was not going to be doing English language anime, but this is kind of an exception because even though the voice acting for it was originally done in English, I think the story and the directing was all done by Japanese folks. So this is kind of a hybrid where it's not a total English language anime like Castlevania, but it's not totally Japanese either. So my wife and I tried to watch this. We got a couple episodes in, we just weren't hooked. So yeah, I'm gonna put it down here. Just meh, you know? All right, what should I do next? All right, we're gonna do Levius. Levius is really cool because it was the other one, kind of like Series Diego, where it's got a steampunk type element. Imagine this, Depression era steampunk boxing. Such a cool concept. And this was also animated in a really unique style where it almost kind of had like a 3D, almost like video game feel. And so it felt different than some of the other, you know, shows on here, which are just straight kind of 2D, at least in how they look. I know even in a 2D animation show, they can still be using 3D technology, but I just mean it had a more 3D or video game type look to it. And because it's period, because it's steampunk, automatically it's gonna rank high for me. It did take a little bit to take off, a little bit of time to, you know, for the story to really get going, but we enjoyed it a lot. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in A tier. You know what? I might move. I'm gonna definitely put it above Spriggan. Now, some more recent shows. We've got My Happy Marriage and Onimusha. So, My Happy Marriage This was one, you know, when you first look at the trailer, it's kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'm the target audience for that. But my wife and I watched it. We really enjoyed it. It has like the romance type side of things and drama elements, which she definitely likes. And it also had some of the fantasy and horror elements that I like as well. And so I think I might have enjoyed it even more than she did, simply because I'm less accustomed to the romance tropes in anime, whereas she's accustomed to it. So there were some of the things that happened that I was surprised by, and she was like, well, that's typical for that type of shoujo type story, whereas I'm not as used to the tropes. So we really enjoyed it, and I hope they make another season of it. I think it's based on a manga. A lot of these are based on manga, but I haven't read most of these. I would say the main character is just so pitiful. It's almost like a ridiculous level of pitifulness. So if you haven't watched it yet, be ready for that. Even so, it's got a good character arc for multiple characters. So I'm gonna put it in S tier for now, and then after I've got all the pieces in, we'll re-examine and see if things need to move around or not. Onimusha. Oh, Onimusha. So cool. Not only because it's, Edo period, chanbara, kind of samurai stuff, which I just love as a big fan of Akira Kurosawa and his, films. They also reference an Akira Kurosawa film by basing Onimusha's main character on a character from one of Kurosawa's films called Yojimbo, played by the famous actor Toshiro Mifune. And so they took how Toshiro Mifune had acted his character, like the way he looked, his mannerisms, his attitude, and then they had Miyamoto Musashi act out in Onimusha like he was Toshiro Mifune. And so if you're familiar at all, it's like this really cool, homage to Toshiro Mifune and Yojimbo. I have to say, I was disappointed by the ending of Onimusha. I'm not giving anything away, I'm just saying, based on how they developed the story and kind of the mythological elements and the horror and the action and everything, I think it could have had a different ending that I would have enjoyed better. But other than that, I loved this show. Definitely going to put it in S tier because it is totally up my alley. Okay, let's take stock. We've got fairly even ranking of stuff all the way from S tier down to D tier. Let's see if anything needs to change tiers or if it needs to shift orders within the tiers. Right now, looking at this would mean that Sirius the Jaeger was my favorite of all of these. I don't know if that's true. I think it was one of my favorite. For now, I'm going to put Black Clover in front because there was a lot more episodes with that, and I spent a lot more time with those characters, and I really enjoyed that. And when they come out with more episodes, I'm definitely going to watch more. Sirius the Jaeger, I don't know if they'll come out with more. Same thing with Onimusha. I found out after talking to a coworker that Onimusha is actually based on a famous video game. So because of that, I'm wondering if they've got some more stories they're going to put into another season. I've got to move up way up the House Husband because that's just too good. Actually, I'm going to put Sirius the Jaeger down the bottom of S tier. But it's still an S tier, don't get me wrong. Okay, let's look at A tier. We've got Levius, Nanatsu no Taizai, Spriggan, and Ragnarok. Does this seem accurate? Okay, I'm actually gonna move up this and move Ragnarok down. Just because, like I was saying earlier, Ragnarok, even though it's very bingeable because of the fights, it's not as deep with the character arcs or the character development. So I'm gonna move it down. I think I'm gonna move Spriggan down as well. What should I move up? Zom 100 or Romantic Killer? I think Zom 100. So that's been real fun, and it is very character heavy. I hope they come out with more seasons of this. Although I was surprised that as we were watching the anime, there was also a live action version that Netflix had just released. Not every anime needs a live action adaptation. In fact, I think there's very few anime that deserve a live action adaptation. So, not sure about that. Okay, that's looking good. Blue Period. I'm gonna move Junji Ito up. I'm gonna move Eden Zero up as well. Alright, otherwise that looks good. And there you have it. That is how I have ranked 22 Netflix original anime series according to my enjoyment. Mash that like button if you enjoyed this and you want to do more tier rankings related to anime or Japanese manga or films. And if there's one of these that you think I should have ranked higher or lower, then tell me why down in the comments with a good reason. Give me a good reason. And if there's some other anime original Netflix shows that you think my wife and I should watch, then also tell me down in the comments, because there's just so many out there. There's no way, that we could have watched all of them. And now, I did promise you a cheat code for how to improve your Japanese. Finally, I know a bunch of you are probably watching anime because you're trying to learn Japanese. And I think watching anime is a wonderful way to, help you learn Japanese, but only to a point. Especially if you're watching anime with English subtitles, that's only going to be kind of a passive immersion in the language. It's good, but it's not going to make you fluent. So if you really want to get better at Japanese so you can speak it and read it and watch your favorite anime without any English subtitles, then you'll need to dive deep into a Japanese story 100% in Japanese. So if you want to do that and learn Japanese through the power of story, then I highly recommend Japanese Uncovered, which is the self-paced online course that I've been taking, which has really helped me level up my Japanese. It is where you learn Japanese through a Japanese short story. You hear narrations of the story from a native speaker, and then you get lessons, video lessons that are designed to take you step by step through the material so that the vocabulary, the grammar, and even the culture that's involved kind of builds on itself as you go through the story in a natural way, and your Japanese abilities will progress as the story progresses. This has helped me grow a lot in my Japanese, which is why I recommend it. And if you want to learn more about the course before you enroll, then you can watch a video review that I made about the course right here. 影分身の術